Hello and welcome to In the Sisterhood. I'm your host, Beth Wilson, and I'm so glad you could join me this evening. I have a wonderful guest. I'm sure you will come to love her as much as I do, even though we've only met. She's one of those fast friends. You see, she is full of heart and soul. Her name is Lea Wyler, and she is the founder and vice president of Rokpa International. And this is an organization that helps the street children in Nepal and Tibet. And as we are talking with Lea, you will see what incredible transformation she brings them to and how they indeed transform her as well. So I'd like to welcome my guest, Lea Wyler. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's great being here.
It's wonderful to have you. So Lea, tell me, how did you start this? Because I know you have a personal story that's very important. And it really inspired you to create this entire organization.
Well, it was very, very far from my mind when I was young to be a charity lady. Actually, I was an actress. My mother was an actress before me, and my grandmother. And I come from a family of people who are into arts. I have to say, my father was a lawyer. My mother was an actress, my grandmother was an actress, my grandfather wrote Bambi, so he was a writer, quite a famous writer. And there was no doubt in my mind that I wanted to be an actress. And I always used to say, I'll throw myself off a bridge if I can't act. So from the age of 3, I was acting. But then I moved to Israel.
Yes.
I emigrated to Israel, and I wanted to live there because I come from a Jewish family, and we're kind of, how can I say, we're kind of educated in a way to be Zionists at that time. That's a long time ago.
Yes, I was going to say. Historic backdrop.
Yeah. And then, so I moved to Israel, and no sooner had I settled down and actually got my furniture sent over from Switzerland, that I had a phone call from my father telling me that my mother had cancer and needed an operation, and that I should come back and be with her. And the very next day I went back to Switzerland. And then I stayed with her for 1.5 years while she was gradually and very slowly dying a very painful death. And after that I felt that I wanted to die too. I couldn't understand how someone that you loved so much could just die. We don't get prepared for this.
Yes.
You know, not at school, not at home. And it just happened, and there was nothing I could do, and I felt very helpless. And I had met a Tibetan Lama and doctor and meditation master called Dr. Akong Tuku Rinpoche, who has his seat in Scotland. He had left Tibet during before the Cultural Revolution. And then I heard that he was going on pilgrimage to Nepal and India, and I went with him, and this is where my life then changed.
I was going to say, because it sounds like with your mother's passing, that it almost took something with you, so to speak. And actually, we have a lovely clip, so I'm going to go ahead and let them play that now, because it's a beautiful interview that talks about that loneliness and how you moved through that.
When I was young, I was an actress, and I had emigrated to Israel to start my life there. And I was called back. No sooner had I settled down was I called back because my mother had cancer. And so I went back immediately the next day and looked after her 1.5 years, day and night, until she died. Really slow and very painful death. And I was so desperate, I didn't know what to do. I just wanted to die myself. I didn't understand how someone so good and so kind and so close to my heart could just die. We're not prepared for these things. So I asked Akong Rinpoche to help me.
Lea, talk to me about that. Tell because I think it's really important for other people to understand this journey that you took because, as you said, you were so focused on being an actress, and it was paramount to you and to have this career. And yet, when this horrible thing happened in your life, something pulled the rug out from under you and set you on a different path. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that today. They've experienced that through history. And it's hard sometimes to see that something else is being laid out before you. All you can do is take steps, hopefully towards something new. So if you would talk about that, because I think your story is especially powerful, because you trusted this person. And lo and behold, some things opened up for you. So if you would talk about that, I think that's a very valuable story.
Well, I went with Akong Rinpoche to India and then Nepal because I could not bear my grief.
Yes.
And you know, I saw people laughing and smiling around me, and I could not understand how people could even smile when the dearest person I had gone. And and so I would have gone with him anywhere because he was just he is an exceptional human being and has great compassion and kindness. And it seemed to me that he is the one person I want to be close to wherever he is. But little did I expect that going with him and going to India, where I saw beggars in the street, I saw leprosy patients for the first time. Remember, I come from Switzerland.
Yes.
And in Switzerland, at that time, you never saw beggars in the street.
Well,
and
huge contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never saw a leprosy patient or TB patient.
It doesn't exist.
It didn't exist.
Right.
And there I saw all that. I was confronted not only with my own grief, but with the terrible grief and suffering of people around me. I saw small children, girls who were maybe 12 or 13, who were carrying their own babies in their arms and who taught them from birth to pull out the hand like this to get money from strangers.
Yes.
And I thought, what can this baby become except a beggar? Because that's what they learned from birth. And I had lots of experiences there. One of the major one was when I decided to give bread to everyone. And that was a stupid idea. But I thought giving money, they would just drink, you know, use it for drink or smoking.
Yes.
And bread, we were taught, even stupid, because actually these people eat rice rather than bread. But I brought bread and all the beggars, and I only knew hunger from diets.
Yes.
Which I know very well, that kind of hunger, where you don't want to go in the fridge because you shouldn't break
There's
the
an
diet.
overabundance of food, right? Yes, you're trying to fight against it. Yeah.
And there people have the same problem as me.
Yeah.
Which is constantly thinking of food.
Yes, but except for a different reason.
And they don't have any.
Yes.
And instead of sitting there quietly and accepting the bread I was giving, they all came towards me and they nearly killed me. They clawed at me and at my clothes, and they were emaciated. And this was the moment in my life when I experienced what real hunger was.
Yes.
And I had this experience. A little girl managed to get underneath the crowd, in between the crowd.
Yes, yes.
And she actually managed to get a piece of bread. And she was so happy, and she looked at me with that bread and showed it to me. And this old woman came across with a stick and banged the child on the head.
Yes.
And the child dropped the bread. A dog came and ate the bread. And then everybody was fighting. And my life changed in that instant.
Right.
And I realized, what's the use of helping when you don't know how to help, when you make people angry and upset? And I decided to change my life in that moment and to stop wanting to come to Hollywood and be a famous actress, where there's thousands of others more beautiful, with the same dream, maybe more beautiful, surely more beautiful, slimmer, blonde, tall, sexy, and all the rest of it. And I just fight against them.
Right.
So I realized that is illusion.
I was going to say, it sounds like it's part of, I don't want to say shallow, because obviously it meant something to you.
Yeah.
But in comparison to this experience, there was a shallowness
Yes,
so that
yes,
you were transformed in that moment.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I decided that whatever I was going to do in life, which had become anyway useless after my mother's death, I didn't know what I was going to live for.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to change my life. And you see, before then, when I was grieving so deeply, I had asked Akong Rinpoche, who had become my teacher,
Yes.
what to do. How can I get out of this constant sadness and self-pity, I must say. Of course, I was missing her so much. And he said to me, now you are so lonely and so sad, and you cannot see any opening for you. The only way you can get out of that, the only way you can heal that is to help one other person. Because then you don't only help one other person, you also help yourself. You help two.
Right.
And if you help two people, you'll help 4 and 6 and 100 and 1,000. And at that time, I had this idea that I really should have a child because I needed to pass on all the love I had been given.
Yes.
And he said to me, you will have thousands of children. And I thought, how is that humanly possible? I'm not quite sure what he means, but now I know.
Yes, and I was going to say that I think that's so important because a lot of people, when they're in despair, that kind of despair, it's hard to think when someone says, get out there and serve others, get out there and help others, you feel like I have nothing. I have nothing to offer, and maybe I don't even want to. You know, that self-pity of maybe I don't want to, or maybe, you know, it's all about me until I feel better. I have nothing to give. I don't want to give anything. And for you, he really was able to enter into your heart and say, if you want the path to healing, serve others.
Well, I think if you say I have nothing, then you're wrong.
That's
because
right.
As long as you
That's
have
right.
2 hands, you have 2 eyes, if you have that, if you're lucky enough to have that,
Yes.
then you have many, many, many options to help others. And there's no way you can say, I can't do anything.
Right, and I have nothing to
Even
give.
you have no money. I had no money. But what did I do? I went back. I realized, my God, how am I going to help all these people? I suddenly started to see who needs what. Of course, you see that easily. This child needs education. This person needs medicine. This person needs something else.
Yes.
Even if it's just a hug.
Right,
You know?
right.
And we all can do that.
Yeah.
And so when I went back home to Switzerland, I went to see my father, who was a lawyer, and I said, help me, I want to do a charity. And he said, you don't know anything about charity. He says, you go to university and you will learn. He's, you know, a very, very famous Jewish lawyer.
Yes.
And of course you have to do everything with your
That was
brain.
right.
Well, maybe I didn't have enough brain. So I decided to just talk to people about it all the time. And that's what I did. And then we started Rokpa charity.
And I think this is a big difference because a lot of people nowadays hear about the starvation. They hear about, you know, the very physical needs, the very basic needs. And those are essential. Don't get me wrong. We all know that those are extremely essential. So how can you listen? You know, there's a great quote about how can you listen to the preacher if your belly is not full? You know, how can you listen to others? But what I love about Rokpa is what you have taken is not just helping with medicine, with food, with the basics, but you have utilized your career in acting to infuse these children's life with creativity, with expression of the spirit, with telling their stories. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that is a unique piece that you bring to this.
Well, maybe I should just say that after we created the organization, and there's a head office in Switzerland, and there is 20 branches in different countries, also in the USA, an important branch in the USA, in Virginia. What I like to say is that then, after all that was established, I went out to Nepal, and I started to pick up children from the street, and children who don't have anybody. And we started to build a home for them, a children's home in Kathmandu. And we started many, many projects in Tibet. We now have about 120 projects in different parts of Tibet.
Wow, that's very impressive.
So we travel every year, and we do our best to help with education and ecology and old people, sick people, etc., etc. But in Nepal, what you're talking about, the children are mostly rejected by their parents or by their mothers, because the mother needs to be married to another man. You know,
Mm.
her husband will have left her, and then she'll be in the street begging.
Yes.
She'll be raped every night or nearly every night. The children are watching this.
Yes.
And then if she finally finds a man, because in Nepal you need to be married,
Right.
then the man usually says, I don't want that child.
Mm-hmm.
So the child ends up in the street.
Right, and there's also a lot of addiction problems,
Oh yeah, a lot of
alcoholism.
sniffing glue, and a lot of drugs and alcohol and child prostitution. There's a lot of suffering there. And the worst these children have is that they feel so rejected and so unloved. So actually, being an actress, I haven't learned, I'm not a psychologist, or I'm not a teacher, or I'm not all of these things, but what I can do is pass on my mother's love to them, and that's what I do. I hug them a lot, and we are very close, and they call me mom.
Yes.
And actually, I'm looking for lots of other moms out there who want to take part in this and help these children. And then I found that education, school, and all that is not enough.
Yes.
And so now what I do is I take them on tour. I've just come from Nepal, and we made a new play with the children about their lives. And they do a lot of the choreography themselves, and a lot of singing and a lot of dancing. It's very, very moving. And I'll take them on tour to Europe, and hopefully, if I get enough support, we tour also in America.
Well, yes, and I really hope you get a chance, because the clip that I saw that we watched together, actually while we were in New York, the opening scene is so powerful because there's a girl in a cardboard box. And what you may not realize until the story progresses is that some of these children show up on your doorstep in a cardboard box. People are giving these children to you to help them, and maybe they have a chance. So I do want to go to the clip that we have of you, and if you could talk a little bit about what you're doing, because I know you're in a circle with the children, and it looks like you're in a practice session for an upcoming play.
Well, that is the play that we're just about to do.
Okay.
And we're going, as I said, we're going on tour to several different countries in Europe, and we have a very famous star, Andreas Vollenweider, the harp Grammy Award winner.
Beautiful, yes.
And he's coming with us on some of these occasions. And the clip you're talking about, we just had gone through the whole play, and then we sit together in circles, and we talk about what was wrong, what was right. So it is a practice session. It's after the rehearsal.
Okay.
And the kids, some of the kids, the smallest one that I only picked up less than a year ago,
yes,
they don't understand English. The bigger ones do, because they all go to good schools. But the smaller ones don't. And so I have some of the bigger ones translating to them into
so we'll hear a little Nepalese?
Yes.
Is it? Okay,
yes.
great.
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and play the clip now.
Akash goes and it's not clear for us what is he really doing. He goes like that throat, and then he goes down. So he has to see the dog. He has to be scared of the dog. Then he takes the stone and he throws it. But what he does is he throws it and he sits down. Now, if a dog is about to attack you, you look, is he really going? You don't throw it and go away, because he may just run after you. So for a moment he needs to throw and look, and then relax and full, collapse.
हामीले चाहिँ अहिले सबै प्रोग्रामहरू चाहिँ यो अब किचनमा अलिअलि चाहिँ यो मिस्टेकहरू रहेछ र त्यो चाहिँ सब्जेक्टमा जस्तो तिम्रो चाहिँ त्यो फर्स्टमा आइसोलेसन आउँछ नि, त्यसमा तिमी आउँदाखेरि अब तिमीलाई पो थाहा छ तिम्रो त्यो कुकुर आइछ भनेर, अरू हामीहरूलाई त्यो कुकुरलाई हानेको भनेर थाहा छैन नि त होइन. तिमीले के गर्नुपर्छ, पहिला कुकुर देख्यो तिमी डरायो होइन, अनि त्यसपछि तिमीले ढुङ्गा टिप्यो अनि हान्यो होइन. अब हान्ने बित्तिकै तिमी बस्छ कि, अब तिमीलाई के त तिमीले ढुङ्गाले हानेर त्यो कुकुर फेरि रिसाएर आएर फेरि टोक्छ कि, ढुङ्गाले हान्ने अनि एकछिन कुरा अनि त्यसपछि अनि बस्छ क्या है.
Okay. And can you tell Jyoti that when she's in the box, her eyes have to be really over the rim of the box. So if her eyes are like that, let's say this is the rim of the box, then the audience will not see. So she's got to make sure to lift and have like the rim, she could put it against her nose, and if the rim of the box is about here, it's about right, then you see the eyes big eyes, left, right, look, is there any danger? Is anybody coming to hurt me? And only then she gets out of the box.
ज्योति तिमीलाई थाहा त्यो बक्सबाट जब तिमीले आधी टाउको मात्रै निकाल्छ नि है आज अलिकति राम्रोसँग आँखा देखिएन कि अलिकति छेकियो कि होइन त्यही भएर तिमीले जहिले पनि अस्ति नै पनि भनेको थियो नि त यहाँ जब तिमीले टाउको निकाल्छ नि तिम्रो आँखा यति देख्नु पर्यो अरे के है यति देखेर यताउता हेर्ने कतै म बाहिर निस्किँदा कसैले आएर मलाई पिट्छ कि के डर लाग्दो छ कि बाहिर भनेर पहिला निस्किनुभन्दा अगाडि हेर्ने के केही छैन रहेछ भनेपछि मात्र निस्किने अनि पछि गर्ने है अनि हात चाहिँ राखेर यस्तो यहाँ समातेर आँखा यस्तो 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 गरेर हेर्ने अनि पछि मात्र निस्किने है बुझ्यो यति चाहिँ देखाउनुपर्छ
And Sheena, when you are going with Smiler and you are this elegant lady, you have the glasses on, but you only take them off. He's showing you proudly his watch, right? So when he says, hey, look at my watch, then, you have these glasses on, which actually glasses, anyway, they're cheap glasses. And you don't see much anyway out of those glasses. You wear them just for show, like you wear your watch just for show. So you wear them for show. You have them on, and he shows you, but you can hardly see it because you can't hardly see anything. Bad glasses, no? Then, elegantly, you lift your little finger, and you take them off elegantly, and then you look at his watch, and you say, yeah.
Well, now, I've been talking to you about these wonderful children, and anyone who sees these clips, you have to be inspired by, these are children that when they first came to you, they were dealing with leprosy, they were dirty, they were starving, they were hurt, they were beat up, they were abused, they'd been dealing with alcoholism, the list goes on. And yet I've seen photographs of them just transformed. And even in these clips of them working with you, Lea, they come to life. You can see that their focus in life has come to a different place. And I really would love for you to talk about how people can get involved, because we've even talked about my coming over to spend time with the children. I'm one of those mums. You said you're looking for mums, and I think mums can come in dad's forms too, that would really want to engage with these children, because not only do we have the opportunity to help, but they heal us, they inspire us as well. You can even just see that in how they're responding to you.
Well, what we do is every winter we do a soup kitchen, which is actually the place where many of these children come from, because it's the one place where people can go and eat 2 warm meals every day in the winter for 2.5 months. So we're inviting people to come over as volunteers, to come, people who don't want to just travel in these third world countries, but they actually want to give something back, or usually it's very strange because they come and they say, oh, I want to help these people. But in the end, they say, they helped me.
Right.
Many people went through difficult patch in their lives. And when they've gone there and they really experienced the same as I have, and which makes me so happy, which changed my life into a happy life, and which can change other people's lives.
Yes.
So that's one thing where they can, where they can help Rokpa. But by the way, it means help or friend in Tibetan, the word
lovely.
Rokpa, R-O-K-P-A. And another way is, you see, for example, I have one lovely man who is a composer, and he's now starting a band, classical music. Imagine the kids who used to beg in the street are now playing the violin and the cello and the drums. And maybe we go on tour next year with a band. So if you have a special knowledge, a know-how, a gift, or if you find a way to help us in order for us to take more kids off the street. Or
so there's lots of ways to engage.
Lots of ways. We also have a women's workshop where they make beautiful things. All women who used to live in the street, and some of the mothers of these children who we've been able to assemble again and to bring back into the fold, as it were, and who can earn a living through Rokpa. Then there's many, many ways. Go on our website and see what we do.
Yes, in fact, give us your website, would you please?
It's www.rokpa, I pronounce it in my way, Rokpa.
Yes.
ROKPA.org. www.rokpa.org.
Lea, it has been a joy to have you on the show. And I really hope people will go on your website. Give it to us again.
www.rokpa.org.
Thank you. I will hope they will go to your website and will get involved because there's so much people can do. And also, as you've said so many times throughout this interview, it's not just about what you can do, it's also what these children will give you, what they may awaken in you, what they may heal in you as well. And so it's been a joy to have you on the show. I hope you'll come back with us again, and I hope to see you in distant lands in the near future.
I'm very happy. Thank you so much, Beth. In the Nepali way, namaste. Thank you so much. And Tibetans say tashi dele, which means good luck to you and everyone who's listening tonight. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Join us again for In the Sisterhood, and I hope you'll be back for more wonderful people on the show. See you again next time.